So welcome to STOBG's Building Conversation podcast. As an introduction, I'm Nick Oddy. I'm Director of Strategy for the London business.
I'm Jennie Tavares. I'm Life Science Sector Lead at STO Building Group.
So just to frame what we're going to be talking about today, as a group, we have a huge focus towards growth and diversification within the business. And a key component of that is how we deliver life sciences projects. So what we're going to be talking about today is where we can see this is London's moment, where we can see how the power platform of STOBG can help support our clients in delivering their projects and growing their portfolio within the City of London.
So when Nick reached out and tried to understand the London market as far as the life sciences goes, and I thought it was of such an interesting timing to really dig deep and look at what the entire global and look at UK, how it fits with the growth of life sciences.
Yeah.
To me, London is still UK actually remains a top 10 globally in terms of its life sciences footprint, right? And then in investment, London is very rich with VC firms and as well as a strong foundation and network of universities that are heavily involved and essentially sits at the core of the future of a product and the research and the development.
Yeah, I mean, we're certainly seeing that. I think from our perspective, we are seeing continued investment in terms of a focus around real estate in life sciences, and you know what certainly in the last couple of weeks we've seen, or you know, I don't know if you've seen in the media, you know, again, significant investment being pumped into areas of London in terms of key clients within the sector looking to build their portfolio. What is great as well for London is the volume of employment that brings and, you know, opportunities within the sector. Mm-hmm. And, you know, from our perspective, you know, areas, and we'll talk about it later, but areas certainly that weren't perceived as being an area for life sciences, where, you know, estate and the areas of London now are actually having these life sciences and technology and innovation hubs popping up, and it's creating a huge amount of opportunity within the sector.
Yeah, that's very interesting, right? So I think from a biotech space, the funding has been over the years, in the last couple of years, I would say it's very cautiously spent, mm-hmm. right? And then that has continued to be the trend, just given the whole global economy and how things has been. You know, with that, what are you guys seeing in terms of those investments? Is it in the research and development space? Are you guys seeing the major pharma looking at retrofitting some of the space, whether it's in London or outside?
Yeah, I mean, it's very diverse, and I think I touched on it before. For example, there's a particular area of London, which is Canary Wharf, which generally has always been the home for financial services clients. You know, big banks that Structured Zone and STOBG work for globally. There's been a real drive for investment in building new buildings to allow for a diverse set of clients to go into or sectors to go into. But for example, going back to Canary Wharf, we are now seeing where leases are expires from a financial services where clients may be deciding to move. We're now seeing life sciences clients and technology clients moving into that space and creating a very sort of diverse building, which has both research and development areas, but also their corporate office space. And they seem to be happening more and more and more. And I think I'll touch on it later. There currently is a bit of lack of stock in terms of new buildings that are finished, meaning that the investment that's going into London, people are trying to have work different ways of finding a space that can work for their future.
Yeah, I love how the whole ecosystem they all have a different indicators you know, I'm just gonna go right into it, right? Where, you know, we as a life sciences life cycle or ecosystem, we watch kind of JP Morgan, which is the global biotech healthcare conference that sets the table annually at the beginning of the year, and usually that really gives the great, strong indicators, what therapeutic area, what oncology, you know, who are going to be the rising star, who is investing, and it's very well attended globally annually. And in UK, and you guys have its own, right, Jefferies Global Healthcare Conference, and then this year, actually November 2025, it took place. It was well attended, and I think the outcome, the feedback is really exciting to see that the attendance is so good. good, and then people are, focusing back into the life science and the biotech and then getting ready to reinvest into the space and then looking at growth into the near future. So I think it matches what you kind of just said,
and
right?
I think as well, certainly a pattern that's been happening maybe over the last 10 to 15 years. You have London, which again, very similar to New York, where we're sitting in today. A global hub, right? A city that people want to live in, people want to work in, and they see their sort of ambitions for the future in. So certainly one of the patterns that we've seen is, the skills, the highly technical skilled people that are coming out of universities, coming out of colleges that want to live in those cities. I think the drive from a lot of these, the clients and the companies within life sciences are going, we need to make sure we're investing in that city. One, because it aligns with investment from a financial services perspective, but also actually making sure they have the best people in their businesses in the best cities. And, where my experience of working in the life sciences sector, which I have done for a number of years, is you have London. But then what you also have is an area above London called the Golden Triangle. And essentially what that does, it's a hub between, and most people obviously know the universities of Cambridge and of Oxford, where certainly probably for over 10 years, there's been a huge amount of investment in building research parks where various sets of clients and organisations have decided that's where we need our home. One, it's close to London because you can be in there, you can be on a train in 1 hour, so you're in London. But also what that's allowed them to do is access the best people that are coming out of universities that they can see their future paths within that business. I think from our perspective, that nice balance, certainly from a London perspective, where Structure Tone are sitting, is, the diversity and how the portfolio and what's happening now, where it's not just a technical lab space. What they're looking to do is there people that have the experience of working in the buildings? Is there people, in terms from a retrofit perspective, how can we have the right partner, I guess, delivery partner, who have the ability to support the design, the technical design? I think we'll talk about, these are not easy spaces to deliver because they're very technical. So making sure that you've got the right skill heads and the right knowledge and experience is really, really important. And I think certainly for us, we see a path going forward from London, but also, throughout the UK, essentially. Before we come on, we were talking about a particular client that's based just outside Manchester in the north of England. Again, huge amounts of investment going into that city. And, if you move away from life sciences, again, you have big organisations like the likes of Deloitte and KPMG and PwC and EY and a lot of big law firms that are moving to the various cities because they want to make sure that, they are accessing the best people to, be part of their businesses going forward. So it's definitely a really exciting time in the UK at the moment.
Yeah, I love how you talked about the technical skill set of people, right? And then there's a great segue to get into the next part of the discussion. Knowing life science space, whether it's a research institute or a QA, QC type of lab environment, the lab component of the building, or a API manufacturing, all of those spaces are very high tech, right? Yes. And like you said, do you, from being a construction focused organization, that's all we do, right? Yes. And for me, I came from the design and I came from process and design side. Having joined this whole construction family, what's very eye-opening to me is, and what are the really different sets of skills that this group bring to the table when it comes with the entire ecosystem from a concept of a facility to building a facility and doing something day in, day out in the construction space. That's what we know how to do, right? And so tell me a little about the labor force. Do you feel the UK market, in terms of its expertise, you talked about the university expertise and people understand the science, but what about the labor, the builders, and do you feel that there's enough workforce and the skill set in there to kind of match the pace that this potentially could go? Yeah,
it's been a very hot topic in London over the last 3 to 4 years, particularly. We've seen a huge, what's the best way of putting it, pipeline of opportunities. So, us in London for Structure Tone, we work across sectors, but our predominant sector is commercial occupier fit out. but we also do refurbishment and we work in life sciences, stuff like that. It's a very busy market. So, my experiences, and you touched on before about design, I think when you're delivering these high technical spaces, it's about identification of your right design partners. It's identification of the right supply chain who have the experience of delivering this type of facility or building or office. But it's very busy. And I think, certainly when you look at the sort of the technical coordination that's required in this type of space, the MEP partner, for example, your mechanical and your electrical partner you pick, absolutely crucial. It's absolutely crucial. And I've been there, certainly my experiences of working in life sciences, there's lots of lessons learned, and I go back to some of the projects that I've been involved in over the last 10 years. And we've had people go to these projects and sort of, they've showcased the fact that they've done this before, but not really understand it and not really get it. And, I know we're going to talk about it, but, the use of technology is really, really important now in terms of BIM and the technical automation of the design. And I think certainly for us, a busy supply chain, which it is at the moment, and we can see that pipeline or the volume of opportunity within what I'd class as conventional commercial occupier fit out, staying in London for the next 3 years. So from our perspective, we are talking to our supply chain, as you guys do in the US and Canada, and making sure that people that want to come on this journey with us, to become the number one in the life sciences delivery in the UK, are fit for purpose. They do have the capacity, but most importantly, they truly understand the expectation of the delivery and what the client wants at the end.
Yeah, no, that's definitely very exciting. A lot of exciting opportunities and challenging ahead, I bet.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. So just sort of touching on, certainly what I've just talked about in terms of what that looks like in London. You're the figurehead for life sciences throughout the STOBG group. I mean, how does London compare to what you're seeing in the US, in Canada, but probably globally in terms of, you mentioned about London being one of the sort of the main hubs for investment, but what are you seeing in terms of the alignment throughout the wider STOBG group in terms of your role?
If I can sort of use some of the magic to guess or to forecast, right? If I have unlimited resources, I would definitely invest heavily in the R&D space, finding other anchors in the world, right? Like London could be one, Asia could be another, right? The number of these major hubs and grow the research and the development space, nurture those areas and grow seeds in there and making that the next major hub. Okay. And then, because there's so much of, a lot of the economic shifts has a lot to do with the administrations and the government and how, we are talking about a global ecosystem here today, right? And then not to get political at all, but the trend is evident, right? So U.S. right now, the major focus is bringing back manufacturing, and you can clearly tell. We know that's the going to be the next wave of investment to build capacity in the States. And then that's positive. That's great news from a builder perspective. We really. It's an opportunity for us, and it's really exciting in building the space in the U.S. To strengthen that supply chain in that regard. And in the same token, I think for UK and enriching that R&D space and taking that opportunity to grow and advance in that space is also extremely exciting. And that's what I see. What could potentially the shift could be.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you talk about that because certainly, at the start of the discussion, I talked very much around these hubs that are popping up everywhere. And at the moment in London, our biggest project for a company that we are under NDA for, so I won't mention their name, but everyone will know who they are. It's our largest project, and it's based in an area of London called King's Cross, which is one of the main transport hubs coming in from the north of England. And what we're seeing now, it's a very, very unique space where we're seeing technology clients, AI clients, and life sciences all coming together into a community. And you can see the level of investment. And, a lot of these people, where we've delivered projects, and this particular project, we've worked for this client before, as have STOBG throughout the US and Canada. But because that particular client is there, and because what they're going to be bringing to the party, you can see pop-up organisations that are coming in, and you can just see the level of investment coming into that area now, where it's really, really exciting. And certainly for us, we've seen new companies, certainly in the AI space and in the technology space, with opportunities for us to support them. And I think, certainly some of the discussions that I've had in the last week since I've been in the US with other leaders of the business have been about, how we can give back to the future, right? So, there was discussions this week about the nervousness of AI, and does it mean that people won't be doing their jobs anymore because AI is going to take over? I think, the way we talked about it globally was the fact, let's become part of the journey with these people, where technology evolves. Technology will always evolve, right. But how can STOBG and Structure Tone be part of a journey with these people that no one's going to stop it? And I think certainly for us, we just need to get on board and go with it. And as I said, technology's key. Technology's key to what we do now as well.
Absolutely.
And it's incredibly exciting going onto projects now, where I feel like I go onto projects now and someone's come up with another idea, something they've seen. We're piloting a new piece of technology, and it's a very exciting time, I think.
So that's really timely in terms of the whole technology piece, right? And I think life sciences, as a sector itself, it really longs for more, advanced ways of building and designing and building.
Absolutely.
To gain efficiency, because people understand that efficiency not only result into cost saving, but also result into a speed to market, right? And people want it, our clients want it, and I think they also are further from really understanding these tools than we are from a construction perspective or from a design perspective. I think we have an innovation think tank where we're always looking at different new tools and technology that can enhance our construction capabilities, whether it's making sure that we have zero punch list, or we are making sure the communication is very streamlined between the field guys to the office operations to the client, right? So a lot of these things all come together, making our delivery more efficient. And it's very exciting. And then from a client perspective, they're looking at this as, okay, what technologies that can I utilize, and then you guys are the design and the construction, I'm not saying, but, looking at the supplier, looking at their partners to say, you are my partners to do the design, to do the construction, what capabilities are out there? So we have to be on top of these to be able to advise our client what's the right tool for the application for them to use. Because they're looking at this is that if I have a plan in Manchester, let's say, and that's got 4 different buildings, and what is the quickest way, Nick, that you can take this and build me like 2 towns over where they have space and land, and I want just digital twin this. I want a copy of this entire thing, and then that's going to... Now, not only that, once the first time you copy this, it's going to take not as efficient, because it's going to take a lot of technologies to download what this is. But then if I really are committed to grow and expand the capacity, and then the following copy and paste will be tremendous amount of cost and time saving, right?
Absolutely.
So that's what our client wants.
Yeah, it's a funny one, isn't it? Having been in construction now for nearly 30 years, certainly from my perspective, I was always brought up on the factors that, the client's requirement is basically cost, program, and quality. That's what it's about. Certainly from my perspective, I think that does go hand in glove with, the discussions that we can have early on, because it's ultimately all driven by the experience that you give the client. It's absolutely critically important. I think certainly us at Structure Tone, we're quite proud of the fact that clients come back, because, it's our enterprise clients at Structure Tone, we have so many repeat clients. And I think, the conversations around, well, you've got to be the cheapest, you've got to be the quickest. Yes, of course, there is demand for that, right? Of course there is, because ultimately a lot of these, they're commercial organisations. But certainly from our perspective, certainly, when we talk about technology, and it's been a big topic of discussion in some meetings I've had this week, it's about the use of data as well, and actually having the ability to understand how we can create efficiencies on our sites, understand what supply chain is right for the particular projects that we've got. And we were talking about tools this week, for example, Power BI, which actually, as a funnel or as a heartbeat, I guess, for the data that we can use to allow ourselves to give the right advice for a client. And as I said, I think, life sciences is a great example where I think the earlier that the client gets the partner on board, the more we can feed into the advice around buildability, around coordination with the design partners, because these design partners, a lot of them be working for the client. They're not necessarily working for us. Technical coordination, supply chain, all that sort of stuff. And I think, there's so many great examples, not just in London, but throughout STOBG, where we have the enterprise clients, the repeat clients that come to us. We're on board really, really early because they're looking for efficiencies and the use of the data that we can give them via platforms, like I said. Or alternatively, the experience where I'm a great believer in don't use technology for technology's sake. I think it's very much the alignment of, I don't think you can ever beat the human touch, shall I say, actually, good people delivering good projects. But in London, and as I said, the largest project actually we've ever done in London that we're doing in the King's Cross area at the moment, for example, we're using a platform called Build Dots. And Build Dots essentially allows you to monitor progress by walking a particular route with a camera on your hard hat, and it talks to the program, it talks to the design, and it actually can give you essentially, are you on line with the program? It can talk to the BIM facility that we got, so as in terms of the technical coordination, and it's an amazing tool. So I think certainly going forward, regardless if it's the life sciences sector or whatever sector you're in, the balance of being a good delivery partner with good people, with the right experience, the right knowledge, but giving the experience to the client, carefully aligned with the use of the right technology to deliver that project. I think that's the way I think the world should go.
And I think that's so interesting you said that, right? Because for me personally, I'm part of. I chose life science as a sector, not only because its purpose of its life-saving and what it brings to what it betters the world, but also because the sector has its uniqueness where it seeks for solution, right? And then at least in the trend that today's market is, right? It's not about the cost, the cheapest cost. It seeks for a solution, a value, right? What do we bring to maximize the goal of the project, of the program, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's, to me, that's, as being an engineer, that's exciting. Right, and not just to figure out, I can do this for the lowest dollar amount. That's, to me, it's just math, it's number.
Yeah.
But if you have to come together to think about what is the best solution and the value you can offer, and that's why us, I think that's really cool.
It's great, and I think certainly, when people talk about, and I think we talk about it a lot. About, in London, we have our brand behaviours and are focused around us as a business, and doing the right thing, and we talk a lot about delivery with purpose, and I think life sciences is the best example of doing your job, working for an organisation who delivers projects, but actually doing it absolutely with purpose. Because I think you touched on it a minute ago, life sciences essentially has the ability to save lives. Life sciences has the ability to, create a good future, right? And I think, some of the projects that I've been involved in, and I know some of the, the teams at Structure Tone in London have been involved in, if you're working for in pathology, or you're working, we touched on, certainly go back 5 years with, what happened in terms of COVID, and being sort of given the opportunity essentially to help, right? Because, the facilities and the spaces that we are delivering allows people to do their best work. And it's quite exciting. I think interesting, moving away from London, And from a US perspective and a Canada perspective, are you from an STOBG, because I think we talked earlier in London, we fit out. We're a fit out and a refurbishment specialist, but STOBG is a huge organisation. STOBG work across all sectors. In terms of technology and life sciences, if we move away from a fit out of a space, what else are you seeing in terms of sort of the opportunities that STOBG have within the continent?
There are a lot of campus ground up, a huge bill, as I mentioned earlier, with the whole the driver to build more manufacturing supply chain. And some of it is to reshoring that capacity back to the States. And I know a number of, major pharma has indicated that's what their intent to do. Whether as a business de-risk and that opportunity for them to invest in that path, or it could just be truly there is a supply and there is a need, right? So where in the GLP-1 space is one where Lilly and Novo and a few other major pharma is looking at continue to boast the capacity to deliver these products to the client to people for whether it's diabetes or for weight loss, right? So the percentage, the demand is definitely out there, and then it's allowed them to forecast that they need that capacity in order to meet that supply chain needs.
Yeah, it's very exciting, isn't it? It's very exciting.
Yeah, it is. And then you also start seeing just the whole oncology space continue to evolve, and we're getting really amazing, cancer therapies that's available to us, and that can be manufactured and injected to us. That is, much more. Not as invasive as other treatments, because it's advancing, right? So that we can, as a human body, if we get sick, we get blood cancer, or we get a solid tumor, and in the past there's only limited ways of treating it, and a lot of times the patient won't even make it, right? Because their body is already deteriorating, and then these treatments are so harsh, and then they just don't even make it out of completing the treatment. But in today's market, and we're looking at the events of the therapies and are allowing us to research and to find ways to treat it more targeted, less invasive. And to me, that's just, again, it's going to continue to evolve. And I know there are huge investment into also diagnostic space, right? And I think that part, AI could really play a very big role in.
We're definitely seeing, certainly in terms of where we are, diagnostics is a big thing, and as I said, I think certainly when we talked earlier, certainly some of the investments that we happen in, and some of the planning that's going into build is absolutely focused around diagnostics and how that aligns with, as you said, technology and AI. I think it can only be for the good. Right. So I think one of the areas, I think we or part of the STOBG group, and certainly I've only actually worked for the organisation, interestingly, for 15, 16 months, but one of the things that I've absolutely seen already, and it's interesting we're doing this podcast in New York. I live in London and I'm in New York talking to you, but in terms of STOBG and where we think globally we can be the right delivery partner to support the organisations who are sitting in this space. Where do you feel like that power of the platform can really help clients make uniform decisions with what they're doing going forward?
I love that question. I think, and that's a really good question, because when I joined STOBG and started looking at a lot of great projects that we've done in house, certainly in the space of science and technology, high end research lab facility, and then I'm trying to look at, okay, how does that all fit in terms of that, where our capability comes in building the APIs, the cell and gene space, which we actually done several projects in that, by the way. And to me, one thing I realize is, given just the market continue to rise, and we are forecasting more growth in the life sciences space, right? There's not short of truly capable builders out there. I know it's a very competitive market because in the grand scheme of building things, we build, 15 billion in construction volume this year, right? So we are the true, strip everything away down to the core. We are builders, right? And maybe compared to the big, all the sectors that we're building, life sciences is something that we're looking to really grow and put a lot of investment into this area to expand and to become a major player. Few things, I collected from being here about a little over a year is that we are a builder, right? And that to me is such a strong resume. Just take out, the specialties and the skills and all of that aside. We understand how to manage risk. We understand how to set a job up, whether it's a $10,000 job to a $9 billion job, which is what we're building right now. And that's what we do every day, right? I think there are some saying about when you do something day in, day out every day, and that becomes something you're really good at, right?
Yeah,
so some saying about that, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's really the core and the skill, and it shouldn't be overlooked and to say that, well, where's the space for us? And there is. You have a number of these big players out there that's building the life science space already, but the jobs are getting bigger and bigger. The 4 billions, the 6 billions, there are campuses that's for 16 billions. And I can tell you right now, not a single construction firm that within the space that's able to build all of that by themselves, because just there's not enough skilled labor, right? Because it is a high-end space. Now, our skilled labor has been dedicated to the healthcare space, has been dedicated to the data center space. So we have tremendous amount of talents that we haven't even take that talent and tap into the life science space. So I think we're ready to march into that direction, and we will make a big footprint out there, giving our ability to build billion-dollar campuses. That's just something we do all the time. Now, what we're focusing from an STOBG side is investment into the unique skill set and the individuals like yourself with the life sciences background. And in the U.S., we're continue to looking at the key individuals that could help to drive them, like myself, joining the market, joining the company, and the others who executed life sciences project to boast and then lead us there, right?
Yeah, I think certainly, it's a really interesting point. I think, for us, I think it's no surprise or no secret. The London business has gone through a significant period of growth over the last sort of 16 months. But I think what we did very, very quickly is, we are delivering multi-million-pound fit outs for across sectors and different types of clients throughout London. But where we did very, very carefully, we wanted to make sure that we were ready to support and deliver across sectors. So we identified a set of skill heads from a life sciences perspective, because we knew ultimately we will get those opportunities, and we wanted to be ready for that. So it's quite exciting when we look at what we have, and going back to you, as you said, we are builders. This is what we are. One of the things that sort of inspires certainly me at Structure Tone is the fact we're builders, but what we do, we don't just deliver a very good product. We deliver, or there's an absolute focus on the best possible experience. And I think, certainly the synergies we have, regardless if you're in London or you're based in New York or you're in Dallas or you're in Toronto, everyone has that same philosophy. And I think, where we're really excited about the life sciences space in London and the UK, certainly for us, we have visions in terms of making sure that we are a delivery partner throughout the UK, or the best delivery partner throughout the UK. But in the life sciences space, we have the ethos as we're good people who build great projects, but having the technical understanding and the skills of people that are delivered in the life sciences space, whether it be your clean rooms or your labs or your specialist gases or whatever it may well be. We've got some great people in that, and as I said, it's really exciting for London to see the volume of investment that we talked about coming into London or continuing to come into London. And a real opportunity for us as an organisation to sort of become sort of the go-to in terms of the life sciences space, which is great.
Yeah, no, I can tell you the sector need us. That's sort of my closing statement, right? 'Cause knowing how much that's out there and how much resources and a capacity is available to deliver these jobs, they need bigger players. They need more players like us,
Yeah,
for sure.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, it's been great. But listen, I really appreciate it today. As I said, it's nice to be, and I think certainly for us, you know, we mentioned it in terms of STOBG and, you know, myself at Structure Tone, you know, for us to be connected like this, you know, having this discussion in New York, talking about a sector that's really important to us as an organisation, you know, it's really fulfilling, isn't it? So it's great.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank
well,
you, and
enjoy
you.
the snow.
I know. I'm going to put my gloves back on now.